All right, let's see if this thing is working. Welcome, everyone. I'm coming to you live from my treadmill, as you can see, but I got a green screen behind me, so I can't go back too far, but otherwise the whole thing will come crashing down on me. But I'm excited to answer your questions. For those of you unfamiliar with my work, every year I read through every issue of every English language nutrition journal. The world is so busy, folks like you don't have to. I think compile the most interesting, most groundbreaking, the most practical findings and new videos and articles I upload every day to my nonprofit site, NutritionFacts.org. Everything on the website is free. There are no ads, no corporate sponsorships, strictly non-commercial, not selling anything, just put it up as a public service, as a labor of love, as a tribute to my grandmother, who's how it all started for me. New videos and articles uploaded every day, released in evidence-based nutrition. Check it out, NutritionFacts.org. Let's get to your questions. All right, going to start on top. It only seems to show me about 20 or so, which kind of rolls up, but I will just go down the list. All right, I hope Mama Doliski says, hopes that I post this Q&A. I think it goes up automatically on the YouTube channel. So if you missed this, well, obviously you're not missing it if you're watching it now, but I think you'll be able to watch it later. What about intermittent fasting and longevity? That is a fascinating, fantastic question. I wanted to do videos on fasting, both intermittent fasting and long-term water-only fasting, but I was really disappointed that there was so little literature out there. That was a few years ago. There wasn't until now. Indeed, there are hundreds of studies now on water-only fasting, intermittent fasting, like every other day eating, or prolonging one's, delaying one's breakfast, or having an early supper so you can get like 18 hours in a day without eating. With this understanding that, we evolved, not eating all the time maybe has some negative metabolic consequences. Now there's actually data now. There's research that's looked into this. So I've got a folder just bubbling over with articles, and looking forward to delving in, doing a whole series of videos on not only water-only fasting, but intermittent fasting, and I will let you know what I find. I don't even know myself, but I'm so excited to see that they're piling up. We have a team of volunteers that downloads and categorizes about 2,000 articles a week. And the intermittent fasting folder is getting bigger and bigger. Hello, Paulina. Any updates on the subject of acne? So I've got a bunch of videos on acne, mostly talking about TOR signaling, the leucine, particularly in dairy products, and high glycemic foods, that combination leading to the acne epidemic. There's actually populations that don't get acne in adolescence, whereas in the Western world, nearly 100% of teens do, and it has to do with our diet. Beyond what's already on the website, I do have, I do go through how I typically do my videos is I go through all the topics alphabetically. So I'm going to, so I finished, I'm now going through my 2016-2017 batch of articles, and we'll start, acne being high in the alphabet, I will start churning out new acne videos soon. So stay tuned. Make sure you're subscribed so you can hear, so you won't miss it. All right, big fan of my, oh, that's sweet. Greetings from Mexico. Buenos noches. Paul asks, Paul HS, which form is preferable, methylcobalamin or cyanocobalamin, and does it make a difference? Yes, it does. I encourage people to choose cyanocobalamin, not methylcobalamin. And the reason is, so 2,500 micrograms of cyanocobalamin is all you need. Probably the easiest, cheapest way to get a regular, reliable source of vitamin B12. The reason I don't encourage methylcobalamin is it's unstable. The reason they use cyanocobalamin is more shelf stable. Methylcobalamin is not very shelf stable, and so you have to take, first of all, you have to take huge doses comparatively, so 1,000 a day, not 2,500 a week, and there have not been sufficient the studies that have been done on reversing B12 deficiency through oral supplementation have almost exclusively been done on silicon almond, so we know it works. Whereas there's only one study that took vegans and who were B12 deficiency and tried to reverse their B12 deficiency. And there's only one study, just had a few people in it, and in one of the people, it didn't even work at all. Like they gave them 1,000 a day of methylcobalamin, and it did not reverse their B12 deficiency. And so that's pretty scary. So I encourage everyone, cyanocobalamin, yes, there's a daily dose, but I encourage people, probably the easiest way, 2,500 micrograms once a week, costs $5 a year, you'll be all set. And indeed, yes, cyano is cheaper. Thank you, The Clyde 1993. What about Cindy? Cindy says, I've said on YouTube videos that avocados are not good for us, but wait a second, my book recommends them. What do I have to say for myself? What I have to say for myself is this is the field of nutrition, which is just rapidly evolving, exciting field. There are about 100,000 articles on nutrition published every year. And so the science changes. I mean, many of the fundamentals of healthy eating haven't changed for decades. I mean, there's really a global consensus in scientific literature of, in general, what diet to eat, but certain foods flop around. Coffee is one example where evidence tips one way or the other, and avocados are another one. So basically, there was just a dearth of information about avocados, except these in vitro studies. In vitro studies show that in a petri dish outside of the human body, human cells, when exposed to persin, which is a pesticide made by the avocado tree to protect itself and found in the avocado fruit, did all sorts of really negative things, DNA damage, chromosomal damage in vitro. But as I say in the video, look, even people that love avocados don't inject guacamole into their bloodstream, right? They eat it. And so what happens? It has to go through stomach acids. It has to be absorbed into the intestine. We don't even know if this person stuff is absorbed. Then it has to make it through the liver, which is like the gatekeeper of the body, and detoxifies things, most things that are toxic to the body. And so only then would it actually make it to our cells and cause potential damage. But look, we didn't know any of that. Hadn't been studied on people. So I said, you know, we may want to moderate our intake of avocados till we know more, until we knew more. And indeed, there was a study done in Jamaica, so we'd be concerned about cancer risk, but a study done in Jamaica found that men who ate more avocados actually had a lower prostate cancer risk, and so that's why. So avocados have been exonerated, and so now probably the worst thing about avocados now are the deep fried chips. People will dip in them. But if you're using avocados in healthy ways, like putting it on your salad to boost your absorption of the fat soluble phytonutrients, carotenoid phytonutrients in that salad, that's a wonderful thing to do. So that's why it's in the book, because the book was written recently and those old videos are still around. But that's why if you view the videos on the site, on NutritionFacts.org, rather than YouTube, I have a little doc notes section where I talk about, kind of put that video in context, and it'll say, if you go to the avocado video on Nutrition Facts, it says, but don't worry, it's been exonerated, etc. All right, next on the list, a tip for cooking beans from Jen Tango. Wash after soaking, then remove the white foam, blah, 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 blah. Hello, Argentina. Thank you for the tip. I actually don't soak at all. I use a pressure cooker. But for those that soak overnight, you can try that tip. Okay. Seabird Sailing Excursions asks, does diet affect platelet count? So this person is worried that they have a platelet count of 171. Which is kind of borderline low, and saying, look, all my other lab results look perfect. You have to understand that this is just based on a normogram. So that kind of normal value is 180 to 4 whatever. It's just kind of a curve, a bell curve. And so being right on one side or the other doesn't necessarily say anything. And I would not be worried about a platelet count of 171. If your platelet count kept dropping and actually got really low, then we'd be concerned that you have some kind of something wrong with your spleen or something where you're chewing up too many platelets or something. But I would not worry about that marginally low laboratory test. And let's go on. Have I tried purslane, Gandhi's favorite food, after urine? You know, he drank his own urine. So just because Gandhi did it doesn't necessarily mean it's a good thing. It's really kind of mean to his wife, too. If you read his autobiography, My Experiments with Truth. Have I tried? Absolutely, I've tried purslane. In fact, I have a video about purslane. I have purslane growing in my garden right next door, right here. I actually grow the stuff, even though it kind of builds up in your sidewalk cracks at a sidewalk near you. It is one of the most common plants on the planet. Super healthy and delicious. Has this nice lemony tang to it. Grows like a weed because it is a weed, I guess. It's delicious. It's fantastic. You can actually buy it in some countries like at produce, but I just grow it because I can't find it anywhere. I love it. It's relatively high in omega-3s. Packed with all sorts of goodies. Seem to have some medicinal properties as I described in the video. And we'll do more videos about purslane, even though it's hard to find. And typically I don't do videos about things that aren't kind of practical. But look, you can grow the stuff, or you could forage it away from roads, so it doesn't have lead contamination from the time we had leaded gas, or the polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons from diesel exhaust. So don't pick veggies next to a highway. But if you can find some nice, some pure purslane, eat it. It's delicious. Even if it wasn't healthy, I'd eat it because it's so delicious. All right, unless it was really unhealthy. Okay, next. Frank says, how does everyone get Frank, double Frank squared asks, how does everyone get adequate omega-3s? They have to eat it. So omega-3 fatty acids are essential fatty acids, meaning our body can't make them. We have to take them into our diet. And so among the healthiest sources of omega-3s are flax seeds. So that's one of the reasons I recommend a tablespoon of ground flax seeds every day to get your omega-3s. But also chia seeds and hemp seeds and walnuts and dark green leafy vegetables have a lot of omega-3s, but there's so little fat that no matter what percentage of omega-3s, you'd have to eat like a wheelbarrow worth of greens to get your omega-3s. But I have lots of videos on how much you need and how to get them and all the details thereof. All right. Jan Tango asks, is a tablespoon of organic, extra virgin, super duper duper virgin olive oil on my daily nutrition plan? No, it's not. Why? Because it is a yellow light food. And so I have a traffic light system of kind of green light foods, which we should center our diet around to the maximum extent possible. Yellow light foods, which we should minimize, and then green light foods, which ideally we should avoid. Extra virgin olive oil is a yellow light food. All other vegetable oils are red light foods. They're ultra processed foods, actually, but both of which I would minimize from one's diet. All right. And Joshua Pritikin says, oil is processed. Why not have the whole food? So instead of walnut oil, eat walnuts. Instead of olive oil, eat olives. The only problem, sodium content. So olives, whole food, right? Should be green light. No, it's yellow light because the brining process adds a lot of sodium. We want to keep, ideally, our sodium intake under 1,500 milligrams a day, according to the American Heart Association and the best available science. All right. In order to get all the omega-3s, is it enough to eat flax seeds every day? Or do I recommend supplementation? In flax seeds has alpha-linolenic acid, ALA, short-chain omega-3s, which your body can then elongate into the long-chain omega-3s, DHA and EPA, which is important for brain health and some other functions. The question is, can we can we elongate enough for optimal health? So I talk about, well, what about if you have to create a brain in your uterus? For pregnant breastfeeding women or women even considering pregnancy, should they supplement with long-chain omega-3s directly into their diet, EPA, DHA? And particularly as you grow older, particularly older men may lose the ability to do that conversion. And may it be a good idea to take long-chain omega-3s for everyone. I've got videos on each of those topics and end up saying it might be a good idea to take 250 milligrams, between 200 and 250 milligrams of a preformed pollutant-free source of DHA in one's diet. And what do I mean by pollutant source? So that's algae-based or yeast-based, but not harvested from the ocean like fish oil because of the pollutants that have built up in the aquatic food chain. And that's in addition to getting your flax, because flax is lots of things other than omega-3s, like lignans, the world's leading source of lignans, a lot of boron, good for bone health, all sorts of good stuff. All right. Okay, more if I want to get omega-3s. Is flax better than chia? Flax is indeed better than chia. Why? Chia may actually have a little bit more. So there's lots of wonderful things in both, soluble fiber in both, omega-3s in both, but lignans, these anti-cancer compounds, and there are just extraordinary studies on lignans in terms of breast cancer survival, all sorts of wonderful things. Check out, just type in lignan, Lignan, into NutritionFacts. You will be amazed, and you will want to run out and get flax seeds. I love chia seeds just because I like the texture, and so I use chia seeds, but flax seeds are healthier. So that's only after I get my flax for the day. All right. Yes, indeed. We have right now in our very midst Joshua Pritikin, grandson of Nathan Pritikin. What relevance does that have? Nathan Pritikin healed my grandmother. In fact, my grandmother, Frances Gregor, was actually featured in Pritikin's biography, The Man Who Healed America's Heart, because she was one of his early success stories. Her remarkable recovery from terminal heart disease is what led me on the path to not only become a doctor, but practice the kind of medicine I practice today, lifestyle medicine using diet and exercise, to not just prevent and treat disease, but reverse disease as well. All right. There's evidently a YouTube video about how flax seeds can drop testosterone. I haven't seen a study to show that. If you come across such a study, please send it to me and I'll do a video about it. Okay, next, that's Bev asked, love the book, but what about all the people around the world who can't afford to access specialty items like amla powder? Well, you know, I mean, the healthiest foods are among the cheapest foods. Like what's cheaper than dried beans, for example? And so one doesn't have to get fancy specialty foods into one's life. The few things that, like turmeric root or amla powder, you know, dirt cheap. I have a video actually about amla powder and talk about how many pennies per year worth of. It's something absolutely crazy. Just to say, because look, it's a whole food. I mean, it's not. There's no patent, right? I mean, it's just ground up spice. And since you can't patent it, can't charge a lot of money for it, and so it should not prevent people from eating healthy. In fact, among the unhealthiest foods are the most expensive as well. Mark asks, is nutritional yeast an animal protein? No, yeast are in a whole nother kingdom, actually. They're fungi. They're unicellular, like basically one-celled mushrooms, if you may. And they are not animal protein. It's like mushroom protein, essentially. Okay. Yes, mushroom family. You got it, Joshua. You beat me to it. Pumpkin seeds, flag, blah, blah, blah. Oh, okay. Someone suggests that one should eat a variety of things for hair regrowth. I haven't seen any studies on that. Hello, hello. Lots of hellos from everybody. Hello, indeed. Is there a way to bind IGF-1 in vivo? First of all, what is IGF-1? Insulin-like growth factor 1 is a cancer-promoting growth hormone involved in the acquisition and progression of malignant human tumors like prostate cancer, like breast cancer. The question is there a way to bind up any excess IGF-1 in the system to decrease our cancer growth rates? And the answer is absolutely. There's something called IGF binding protein. Our liver, actually, it's one of our bodies, one ways our body protects itself from cancer, protects itself from excessive growth. So sure, in as little as 2 weeks, go on a plant-based diet, your levels of IGF-1 in your body drop because IGF-1 is created in your body from from eating animal protein. Meat, egg white, and dairy protein cause your liver to produce more IGF-1. But you cut down on animal protein, within 2 weeks, your IGF-1 levels drop. But wait a second, what about all the IGF-1 you have circulating in your system from the bacon and eggs you had 3 weeks ago? Well, your liver releases the snatch squad of binding proteins to tie up any excess IGF-1, pull it out of the system, and your protective levels of IGF-1 binding protein go up within weeks, and benefits continue to accrue the longer you eat healthy. And that was done by actually the Pritikin Research Group. Just as a note, and I've got videos on that as well. All right. Time to get nutritional yeast covered popcorn. You know it. I will join you in that. In fact, I haven't eaten supper yet, but in 9 minutes, I will. Binge eating. What are my thoughts? Not a good idea. Okay. David asks, with a bunch of butter? No, let's not put butter on our nutritional yeast popcorn. My thing just jumped, my chat box. So I'm going to have to scroll back up to the top. Sorry if I missed anybody's. A question about microwaves. Are microwaves bad for you? They are if you drop them on your foot. But microwaving is actually a very gentle way in terms of a nutrient preserving way to cook veggies. And I've got a video about that, of course. Some vegetables actually get more nutritious because it's not what you eat, it's what you absorb when you cook them. But it depends on how you cook them. Sometimes for some vegetables, even boiling makes them healthier, makes them more nutrients absorbed in your bloodstream once you eat them. And other foods are actually very sensitive, like bell peppers. Ideally, bell peppers should be eaten raw because no matter how you cook them, they lose a lot of their nutrition. And you paid good money for them, or you dug in the soil for them. All right, I'm gonna keep scrolling back up. Where am I? Wow, there are lots of wonderful. Maybe I should just jump in somewhere. I wanted to. Go in where I left off there. Oh wow! All right. Oh, here we go. I think I'm back. I'm back on the list because I don't want to. Okay, so I covered the microwaves are bad thing. How much protein do we need for muscle growth? We only need 0.8 grams per healthy kilogram of body weight. Get all the protein we need. How long does it take to lower blood pressure on a plant-based diet? That is an excellent question. In fact, it could be a life-saving question. People underestimate the power of plants to dramatically lower high blood pressure. So if you are on blood pressure pills, you need to do this along with your physician. You can't just start eating healthier because your blood pressure can drop too low. Because literally within days, so I talk about that McDougall study, 7-day trial, remarkable drops in blood pressure, and that's over after the vast majority had to stop or dramatically reduce their blood pressure medications. They had to, because if you treat the cause, you cure your blood pressure. You can't have normal blood pressure and be on blood pressure pills. You drop your blood pressure too low. You can pass out, get dizzy, hit your head. And so if you're on blood pressure lowering medications or blood sugar lowering medications, you need to make healthy dietary changes with your doctor's supervision, because your doctor has to start taking these drugs down, start weaning down the dose, dropping your insulin levels as your body works better and better. As you treat the cause, as the insulin resistance go down, they should be able to pull you off your insulin, get you off the oral hypoglycemics, get you off your blood pressure medications, get you off your cholesterol lowering medications. Because it can be dangerous to be on all these medications if you normalize your blood sugar or blood pressure, because it can drop too low. What about Himalayan salt? What about pink salt? What about organic salt? What about any kind of sea salt? It's salt, is salt, is salt, is salt. We need to reduce our sodium intake. I've got a bunch of videos. If anyone thinks, well, wait a second, isn't there like two sides? Isn't there like some people say it's good, some people say it's not good? That is because there's a very powerful processed food industry that is trying to use salt to sell their products as a flavor enhancer because their food is such dreck. And they have people that are paid to twist the science. There's a very powerful industry, and I actually have videos about the industry influence corrupting the science in this area. I went into the sodium question not sure. I mean, you know, when I went through the hundreds of studies and came out really quite convinced that the overwhelming balance of evidence suggests we need to drop our sodium intake at least under 2,300 milligrams a day, and which is what the dietary guidelines suggest. And even better, American Heart Association is 1,500 milligrams a day. And to do that, one would have to eat remarkably healthy. In fact, the only dietary group that actually achieves that sodium goal are people eating strictly plant-based. So whole food plant-based. They're not eating processed foods, and they're not adding salt in the kitchen or the dining room. Then you can actually reach the sodium goals. Otherwise, it would be difficult to get there. So no Himalayan salt or any other kind of salt. If you are going to use salt, use iodized salt. At least you get some source of iodine. But ideally, no salt added at all. Why am I always on a treadmill? That's one of my daily dozen. Exercise. I encourage people to get 90 minutes of exercise every single day because that's what the science shows is best. Why not more than 90 minutes? Because there haven't been enough people that actually do that to get into studies to study that. So all we have, studies just go up to 90 minutes a day, but they show it's better than 60 minutes a day. And so I walk 17 miles a day because I work all day and I'm working on a treadmill desk. And so why do I do it? I do it to get exercise, so my endothelium is happy, and so I can kind of multitask, get a bunch of things done. What's my opinion of maca? This question has come up intermittently, and so I keep looking, and there just is no good science. There's only preclinical work. So preclinical science is like test tube studies or laboratory animal studies. But I haven't found any clinical studies. If you find one, though, let me know, and I'll do a video about it. I'd love to. I know that's a question that comes up a lot. But if there's no science, that's why there's no videos. There's a question of who are my favorite YouTubers. Sadly, people ask me about pop culture. People ask me about like what's my favorite movies, or I'm stuck in the library and know very little about what's going on in the world. Apologize for that. So I don't know what's books are being published, what's in the lay press about nutrition, just the peer-reviewed literature. Ask me about the peer-reviewed literature. I'd be happy to talk to you about it. Recommended cat food, ask your veterinarian. See, I'm a veterinarian that's very specialized. I only know one species, a very limited, restricted, handicapped veterinarian. In fact, in that I only know one species people, and so I can't advise you about what to feed llamas or cats or anything else. But ask someone that knows the science. All right. So David asked, they are a healthy vegan. Question is, what about my non-vegan elderly mother-in-law? How can she reduce significant pain from peripheral artery disease? That's a great question. You know, if you go to my website, there's basically no videos on peripheral artery disease. Not because there isn't good science, I just haven't got to it yet. But that's what my grandma suffered from, something called claudication, this crampy calf pain because your muscles are not getting enough nutrients, not getting enough oxygen, just like clogs to the arteries in the brain can give you a stroke, clogs to the arteries of the heart can give you a heart attack, clogs to the arteries in the legs, the femoral arteries going down into the thighs. If there's atherosclerosis in them, you can not get enough oxygen, you can get crampy kind of angina chest pain, but happening in your calves, and it limits mobility, all sorts of other things. And that can be reversed, something we've known since 1977. And you say 1977, wait a second, Ornish didn't start publishing on heart disease reversal till 79. That's because the first studies on atherosclerosis reversal, opening up arteries without surgery, was actually done on femoral arteries, peripheral artery disease. I'll talk about that whole story and talk about ways you can do that in a series of videos I have coming up on peripheral vascular disease. Stay tuned. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me. I think you'll be excited. You see my little green screen here. I'm actually going to be inserting myself in the videos on the treadmill. It could look really cool or really dorky. We will see. You be the judge. I will talk to you next month. I'll do more live Q&As. Make sure to come over to Nutrition Facts and subscribe to make sure you don't miss any of the goodies. Have a wonderful night.